Have you ever wondered why that grand dream, the one that sets your soul alight just thinking about it, so often shrinks back into the shadows the moment you consider taking action? That book you yearn to write, the business idea simmering in your mind, the fitness goal, the healed relationship, the journey towards inner peace. Why does the sheer size of it, the distance between where you stand now and where you long to be, feel like an unscalable cliff face? It's not that you don't want it. Oh, you want it, desperately sometimes. But the gap feels terrifying, paralyzing. And so the dream stays a dream, shimmering just out of reach while a quiet voice whispers, maybe tomorrow, maybe when I'm more ready, more capable, less afraid. That whisper, my friend, is the language of resistance. It's the echo of 1,000 past hesitations, amplified by the daunting scale of the summit you're staring up at. I know that feeling intimately. It's like standing on the shore, gazing at a distant island paradise, convinced the only way to get there is by swimming the entire ocean in one superhuman effort. The thought alone is exhausting. It makes you want to sit right back down on the sand, wrap yourself in the familiar blanket of someday, and watch the waves. But what if I told you that island isn't reached by a single impossible swim? What if the journey is made by countless, almost imperceptible steps, not leaps into the terrifying deep, but small, deliberate movements forward, one stroke, then another, focusing not on the vast, intimidating expanse, but on the simple act of moving your arm through the water right now. That's the hidden power we often overlook, the power buried beneath our obsession with the monumental, the power of small steps. Think about it. When you look at a mountain, you don't focus on the peak the whole way up. You look at the path immediately in front of your boots. You place one foot, then the next. You navigate the route. You step over the small rock. You pause to catch your breath on a manageable ledge. The summit remains the destination, the guiding star, but your action, your tangible progress, happens in the micro movements. The same applies to everything that feels overwhelming in your life. Writing a book? It's not written in the day. It's written sentence by sentence, paragraph by paragraph, page by page. Building a business? It's built conversation by conversation, task by task, small decision by small decision. Healing? It happens moment by moment, choice by choice, breath by conscious breath. The magic isn't just in the accumulation, though that's powerful. It's in the psychology of the small step. When you commit to something tiny, something so manageable it feels almost laughable, you bypass the resistance. That inner critic, the one that screams impossible at the grand vision, gets utterly confused by the simplicity of write for 10 minutes, or go for a 15-minute walk, or send that one simple email. It can't muster the same level of panic. There's no room for catastrophic failure in a step that small. And in that quiet space, free from the paralyzing roar of fear, something profound happens. You act. You prove to yourself in a tangible, undeniable way that you can move forward. You break the inertia. You create momentum. Tiny, yes, but real. That first small action is a crack in the dam of resistance. It's evidence against the narrative of helplessness. It whispers back to that voice of doubt, see, I did something. And that whisper, repeated consistently, day after day, step after tiny step, becomes a roar of self-trust. You start building a new story, not about the impossible distance, but about your own capacity to navigate it, one deliberate, manageable piece at a time. You begin to understand that transformation isn't a lightning bolt. It's the steady, patient accumulation of countless small shifts, like water carving canyons over millennia. It's the commitment to showing up, not perfectly, not heroically, but consistently for the minuscule task right in front of you. What might open up for you if you embraced this? What dream, gathering dust in the corner of your heart, could you gently begin to nudge towards reality? Not with a frantic burst of unsustainable effort, but with the quiet, persistent power of the next small, right thing. What burden feels lighter when you realize you only need to carry it one step further today? The resistance will still be there. The fear might still whisper, but armed with the power of the small step, you possess a tool to move forward anyway. Not by conquering the mountain in a single bound, but by simply taking the next step on the path, and then the next, and then the next. Where could that path lead you, I wonder, if you just started walking?
Some people spend their entire lives waiting for the perfect moment, the grand gesture, the overwhelming surge of motivation that will finally propel them over the chasm separating their current reality from their desired future. They stand poised, muscles tensed, breath held, convinced that only a monumental leap will suffice. And while they wait, gathering strength for a jump they fear they might not make, life flows steadily by. Days turn into weeks, weeks into months, and the distance across that chasm doesn't shrink. If anything, it seems to widen, fueled by the inertia of inaction. The tragedy isn't the lack of desire, it's the misunderstanding of momentum. They believe the leap creates the momentum, when in truth, it's the small, consistent steps before the leap that build the unstoppable force required to cross any divide. Waiting for the giant leap is often just resistance wearing the mask of preparation. Think about that resistance for a moment. When you contemplate a small step towards your dream, say, writing just one paragraph, making that first tentative phone call, doing 5 minutes of stretching, what whispers or sometimes shouts in your head? Is it a fear of failure so profound that even a tiny misstep feels catastrophic? Or perhaps it's the insidious voice of unworthiness. Why bother with such a small thing? It won't make a difference anyway. Or maybe it's the shadow of perfectionism. If I can't do it flawlessly right now on a grand scale, why start? These are the clever disguises resistance wears. It makes the small step seem insignificant, pointless, even embarrassing, precisely because it knows the small step is the key that unlocks everything. Resistance isn't afraid of your grand plans. It's terrified of your daily, consistent, seemingly insignificant actions. Because here's the beautiful, counterintuitive truth hidden in plain sight. Significance is born from insignificance. A single drop of water is insignificant. A single grain of sand is insignificant. But observe a river carving stone over centuries, or a beach formed by countless grains. The monumental is always the product of the minuscule gathered patiently over time. Your life, your achievements, your very character, they are not built in the rare explosive moments of heroic effort. They are forged in the quiet, persistent furnace of daily choices. The choice to show up even when you don't feel like it. The choice to do the small, right thing, even when no one is watching and the reward seems distant. The choice to trust the process, not the spectacle. Imagine standing by a still pond. You pick up a small, smooth stone. If you try to hurl it with all your might to reach the other side, it might make a big splash near the middle, but it sinks quickly, leaving only fading ripples. Now, pick up another stone. This time, you don't focus on the far shore. You focus on the gentle, skillful flick of your wrist. You send the stone skipping. Scritch, scritch, scritch. Each touch on the water is a small step. It doesn't try to cross the entire pond at once. It uses the momentum of the previous skip to propel it forward just a little further. And often that small, skillfully directed stone travels far further than the one thrown with brute force, leaving a longer, more intricate pattern of ripples in its wake. That's the power of the small step in action. It's not about force, it's about rhythm, consistency, and using the energy generated by the last step to fuel the next. This rhythm builds something far more valuable than just external progress. It builds inner trust. Every time you follow through on that tiny commitment to yourself, I will meditate for 3 minutes. I will research one potential client. I will have one honest, vulnerable conversation. You deposit a coin in the bank of self-belief. You prove in a tangible way that you are reliable, that you can count on yourself, that your word to you matters. This is the bedrock of confidence. It's not loud bravado, it's the quiet certainty that comes from knowing you move the needle, however slightly, day after day. When the inevitable doubts arise, when the external results seem slow, you can look back at the chain of small steps you've actually taken. You have evidence of your own commitment, written not in grand declarations, but in the quiet script of consistent action. So what might happen if you released the burden of needing the step to be big enough? What if you embraced the radical notion that the smallest viable action, taken consistently, holds infinitely more power than the grand unmade gesture? What dream feels less like a crushing weight and more like a journey you can actually begin when you give yourself permission to start impossibly small? That book? Write 1 sentence. That fitness goal? Walk for 5 minutes. That mending? Send 1 kind text. Don't judge the size. Just execute the micro-action. Feel the subtle shift as inertia loosens its grip. Notice the quiet hum of momentum starting, almost imperceptibly. This isn't about lowering your standards. It's about understanding the fundamental architecture of change. The pyramids weren't built by placing massive blocks in a single day. They were built by placing 1 stone, then another, with unwavering focus on the task immediately at hand. Your transformation is built the same way. 1 small, significant step, then another. What might shift within you when you truly grasp that the power to build your future lies entirely in your willingness to take the next tiny, perfectly imperfect step?
Imagine you're walking along a familiar path on a crisp morning. You've committed to this small daily walk just 15 minutes. It's become a grounding ritual, a tiny island of calm before the day's currents pull you under. But then, out of nowhere, a sudden downpour erupts. The sky darkens, cold rain lashes your face, the path turns slick and treacherous. What happens next? Do you stubbornly push through, soaked and miserable, clinging rigidly to the form of the commitment while losing its essence, the peace, the presence? Or do you turn back, feeling a pang of guilt, whispering to yourself, Well, I tried, but it's ruined now. Maybe tomorrow, if it's sunny. This moment, this seemingly insignificant interruption, is where so many journeys towards change falter. It's not the grand disasters that usually derail us. It's the unexpected rain shower on our small, carefully laid path. We mistake the disruption for defeat, the pause for failure, and we let the idea of broken consistency become permission to stop entirely. Life, as you know intimately, is rarely a smooth, sun-dappled path. It's more like that weather-beaten trail, full of unexpected turns, sudden storms, patches of thick fog, and days when your legs feel like lead. We start with such bright hope, committing to those tiny, manageable steps, writing 200 words daily, meditating for 10 minutes, reaching out to one connection. And for a while, it flows. We feel the momentum building, that quiet hum of inner trust growing stronger. Then, life happens. A work crisis explodes. A loved one falls ill. You catch the flu that saps your energy for a week. Or maybe it's not an external storm, but an internal one. A wave of anxiety, a crushing bout of self-doubt, a day where getting out of bed feels like the summit of Everest. The small step suddenly feels insurmountable again. The voice of resistance, temporarily silenced by our consistency, seizes its chance. See? I told you. You can't keep this up. It's pointless. You've already broken your streak. Just give up. This is the critical juncture. This is where the true power of small steps reveals its deepest, most resilient layer. It's not about rigid, unbroken chains of perfection. That's another trap, another form of resistance disguised as discipline. The real power lies in the gentle, unwavering art of beginning again. It's understanding that the step isn't invalidated by the storm. It's merely paused. The path is still there, waiting patiently beneath the rain and mud. The commitment isn't shattered by a missed day, a difficult week, or even a lost month. It's only truly broken when you decide not to take the next step. However small, however tentative, when the storm passes, or even while it still rages. Think of it like breathing. You don't stop breathing because you get distracted, stressed, or even momentarily hold your breath. The rhythm naturally resumes. Your body knows it's essential. Applying that same innate wisdom to your small steps is key. Perfectionism whispers that one misstep erases all the previous ones, but that's a lie. Each step you did take laid down a tiny thread of neural pathway, a whisper of capability, a deposit in your self-trust account. Those deposits don't vanish because of a withdrawal. The path you started carving in your life and mind doesn't disappear overnight. It might get overgrown, yes, but the direction is still marked. The map is still within you. So, when the storm hits, and it will, what becomes possible if you radically redefine consistency? What if consistency isn't about an unbroken chain of identical actions, but about an unbroken commitment to returning to the path, no matter how many times you get blown off course? What if the most powerful step you can take isn't the first one on a sunny day, but the next one after you've fallen, stumbled, or simply sat down in the mud for a while? This requires immense self-compassion. It means looking at your rain-soaked self on that path and saying, not with scorn, but with kindness, okay, the rain came, I got wet, I turned back, that's all right. It doesn't mean the walk is over. It just means today's step looks different. Maybe today's step is simply standing at your window for 2 minutes, feeling the rain, breathing deeply, remembering why you walk. Maybe it's opening your notebook and writing just one word. Maybe it's sending a single, silent wish for strength to yourself. This is resilience forged in the small. It's recognizing that the power isn't negated by interruption. It's proven by your willingness to reconnect. Each time you choose the next small step after a lapse, you aren't starting from scratch. You're building on a foundation of previous steps, reinforced by the newfound strength of knowing you can navigate disruption. You're learning that progress is rarely linear, but it is persistent when fueled by gentle, repeated returns. The storm doesn't destroy the path. It reveals your commitment to finding it again, step by small, forgiving step. What heavy burden of self-recrimination could you lay down today by embracing the profound grace of simply beginning again?
Today, perhaps more than ever, we're bombarded with images of instant transformation. Scrolling feeds showcase overnight successes, radical makeovers, and quantum leaps from struggle to stardom. It creates a subtle, corrosive narrative that real change is dramatic, visible, and happens at lightning speed. Anything less feels insufficient, unworthy. And so when we commit to our small steps, those quiet daily disciplines that feel almost invisible, a dangerous whisper can creep in, is this it? Is this tiny action really making a difference? It feels so slow, so insignificant compared to what I see out there. We start measuring our internal growth against the highlight reels of others. And the sheer mundanity of the small step can breed a deep, unsettling impatience. We crave the fireworks, the fanfare, the undeniable proof that we're changing right now. But the most profound transformations, the ones that reshape the bedrock of who you are, rarely announce themselves with trumpets. They happen in the quiet hum of repetition, in the unseen accumulation of choice after choice after choice. Think of it like shaping clay. You don't create a masterpiece with one grand, forceful slam onto the wheel. You ruin it that way. True shaping happens through patient, consistent pressure. Gentle hands guiding the spinning mass, applying steady, almost imperceptible force over and over again. Each touch seems to do nothing. The clay wobbles, resists, seems unchanged moment to moment. But the potter trusts the process. They don't stop because the vase isn't instantly tall and elegant. They keep their hands steady, applying the same small, focused pressure, rotation after rotation, and slowly, miraculously, the form emerges. It rises from the base, it curves, it takes on strength and beauty. The change wasn't in any single push. It was in the unwavering commitment to the next small adjustment, trusting the cumulative effect. Your character, your resilience, your very sense of self, they are shaped exactly this way. Not by seismic events, but by the quiet, daily pressure of your chosen small steps. This is where the magic becomes truly personal. The small step is the architect of identity. When you consistently choose the small step, choosing the walk over the couch, the honest word over the convenient lie, the focused 10 minutes over the distracted scroll, you aren't just doing something, you are becoming someone. You are whispering to your deepest self, day after day, this is who I am. I am someone who walks. I am someone who writes. I am someone who prioritizes presence. I am someone who keeps promises to myself. These aren't grand declarations shouted from rooftops. They are quiet affirmations etched into your being through action. Each small step is a vote cast for the person you aspire to be. And while a single vote seems insignificant, the consistent tally over time determines the election. You become the person who acts, not just dreams. You become the person who shows up, not just wishes. The frustration, the impatience, the feeling that nothing is happening, they are the natural friction of this shaping process. You are literally rewiring your brain, challenging deep-seated habits, building new neural pathways. This takes time. It requires repetition. It demands faith in the unseen. The results you crave, the finished book, the transformed body, the thriving business, the profound inner peace, are the emergent properties of the identity you are forging through your daily micro-actions. You cannot leapfrog the becoming to grasp the being. The outer manifestation is the fruit. The small, consistent steps are the roots growing deep, unseen, gathering the strength to bear it. So, when doubt whispers that your small steps are too small, too slow, ask yourself this: who do I want to be? Not just what do I want to have or achieve, but who do I want to be at my core? Do I want to be someone governed by impulse and distraction, or someone guided by intention and discipline? Do I want to be someone who waits for motivation, or someone who cultivates commitment? Do I want to be someone who gives up at the first sign of rain, or someone who knows how to begin again? Your small steps are the deliberate practice of being that person right now. Not when you reach some distant finish line, but here, in the seemingly mundane choice of this moment. Choosing the small step isn't settling for less. It's actively constructing the foundation of your future self, brick by patient brick. What heavy cloak of impatience could you shed by realizing that every single time you take that small step, you are not just moving towards a goal, you are embodying the person capable of reaching it? What pressure dissolves when you understand that the true transformation is happening within the process itself, in the quiet act of showing up for the minuscule? The grand results will come, but they will be the natural, inevitable flowering of the identity you have painstakingly, lovingly crafted through 10,000 tiny, courageous choices. You are not waiting for change. You are inhabiting it. One small, deliberate, identity-defining step at a time. Who are you becoming right now in the quiet rhythm of your next small choice? What would you think if I told you that the most radical act of freedom isn't found in a dramatic escape, a sweeping life overhaul, or finally achieving that elusive external validation, but in the quiet sanctuary built by your smallest, most consistent steps? That the very actions you might dismiss as insignificant, the daily pages written, the mindful breaths taken, the boundaries gently held, the tiny promises kept to yourself, are quietly constructing an unshakable fortress within you? A fortress not made of stone to keep the world out, but of profound inner knowing, impervious to the shifting winds of opinion, circumstance, and the desperate need for others to finally see your worth. This, my friend, is the ultimate destination of the path paved with small steps, the liberation of self-sovereignty. Think back to where we began. That feeling of being paralyzed by the mountain, the chasm, the sheer scale of the dream. What fueled that paralysis? Beneath the surface, often it's the weight of expectation, both real and imagined. The fear of judgment if we try and stumble visibly. The crushing need for applause to validate our effort. The desperate hope that achieving this goal will finally make them approve, or love us, or silence the inner critic that sounds suspiciously like their voices. We chase the grand outcome not just for itself, but for the external validation we believe it will finally deliver. We build our worth on sand, constantly eroded by the tides of others' opinions, the metrics of social media, the elusive enough defined by a world that doesn't know our soul. It's exhausting. It's a chase with no finish line. But the power of the small step works differently. It operates beneath the radar of external validation. When you commit to writing for 15 minutes before dawn, who sees it? When you choose the nourishing meal over the numbing snack in the quiet of your kitchen, who applauds? When you pause to breathe deeply amidst chaos, grounding yourself before reacting, who gives you credit? These actions are intimate, sacred even. They are contracts made solely with yourself, witnessed only by your own awareness. And therein lies their revolutionary power. Each small step faithfully taken is a deposit in the bank of self-validation. It's a quiet message whispered to your core. I see you. I value you. I am investing in you regardless of who notices or what the outcome looks like today. You stop needing the world to tell you you're capable because you have the tangible, daily evidence of your own commitment. You stop craving the applause because the deep satisfaction of showing up for yourself becomes its own profound reward. This is how the fortress is built, brick by humble brick. The small step of setting a boundary teaches you your no has value. The small step of prioritizing rest declares your well-being matters. The small step of learning a new skill, however slowly, proves your capacity for growth. The small step of forgiving yourself for a stumble demonstrates self-compassion is possible. These aren't just actions, they are profound declarations of self-worth made real through consistent practice. Slowly, imperceptibly, the locus of validation shifts. It migrates from the chaotic, unpredictable outside world to the steady, reliable center within you. You begin to understand your worth isn't a prize to be won in the external arena. It's the inherent birthright you reaffirm through every small, loving choice you make for yourself. The storms will still rage. People will still project their insecurities, their demands, their judgments. Setbacks will come. But when your sense of worth is anchored in the bedrock of your own consistent actions, in the unbroken commitment to those small, sacred steps, the storms lose their power to devastate. Criticism becomes feedback you can choose to consider or release, not a verdict on your existence. Failure becomes data, not identity. The need to chase external approval, to contort yourself to fit someone else's mold, to desperately prove your value, it simply falls away. It's replaced by a profound sense of inner peace, a deep knowing that you are enough right now, not because of what you've spectacularly achieved, but because you are actively, faithfully showing up for the life you wish to build, one deliberate step at a time. You are no longer waiting for permission or praise to live. You are living, guided by your own inner compass, built step by step. This is the rebirth, not a sudden explosion of light, but the quiet dawning of self-possession. It's the liberation found not in reaching a distant peak, but in knowing the strength and worth you carry in every step of the climb. You detach from the exhausting hustle for external validation because you are finally, irrevocably validating yourself. You find peace not in the absence of challenge, but in the unshakable trust in your own ability to meet it, navigate it, and choose your path through it one small, sovereign step at a time. You realize the dream wasn't just the destination. It was the person you became by walking the path with integrity to yourself.